Hello everyone, welcome to our channel. In this episode, we will talk about a man who is very famous in Aomori Prefecture, Japan. His life story has even been made into a movie. That man is Akinori Kimura. You may find his name unfamiliar, but when it comes to miraculous apples or the grandfather who grows apples, you might have some impression. Akinori Kimura's real-life story is incredibly touching. It even brought tears to the eyes of a gangster's boss when he heard about it. However, this tale of struggle is not the entirety of Kimura's story. He has experienced several mysterious events in his orchard, and he has brought back messages from distant celestial bodies. But due to the mismatch between these mysterious aspects and his touching struggle, some publishing houses wanting to publish a book about Kimura chose to omit these contents. As a result, very few people know that Kimura's life seems destined to be intertwined with various magical events. Although they all appear coincidental, there seems to be a deeper meaning behind them. So what exactly happened to him? Today, we will delve into Kimura's mysterious story. In 1949, Akinori Kimura was born in Aomori Prefecture, Japan, with the original surname Mikami. As he grew up, he worked at Tokyo Science and Industry Company, which is now Hitachi Automotive Systems. However, at the age of 22, he decided to return to his hometown. In that same year, he married Michiko, the daughter of an apple orchard owner, and became part of the farming family. The couple had a loving relationship, and Michiko often helped her husband work in the orchard. Unfortunately, one day Michiko fell ill. Her skin turned red and swollen all over her body. Kimura noticed that every time Michiko came back from spraying pesticides in the orchard, she would feel unwell. It was then that he realized he had a severe allergy to pesticides. Michiko's condition worsened to the point where she was bedridden for a month and couldn't do anything. This made Kimura start contemplating whether it was possible to grow apples without using pesticides or fertilizers. In the 1970s, uttering such words would likely have been considered foolish, as it was common knowledge that apple cultivation required pesticide spraying. However, whether it was a coincidence or fate, in 1975, a book titled The One Straw Revolution was published by an agricultural scientist and philosopher named Masanobu Fukuoka. Fukuoka believed that current farming methods were contrary to the laws of nature, and the crops produced were no longer natural products but rather products of petroleum. In a way, they were harmful to human health if consumed excessively. Therefore, Fukuoka advocated for traditional cultivation methods without fertilizers, pesticides, or weed killers, adopting a mindset of non-action and coexistence with nature. This philosophy instantly struck a chord with Kimura. If it was possible to grow apples without pesticides, how wonderful would that be? However, such a thing had never been done before. In April 1978, Akinori Kimura enthusiastically embarked on an experiment to cultivate apples without pesticides or fertilizers. The concept of natural farming, where nothing is done, sounded simple. But without the use of pesticides, the apple trees in Kimura's orchard quickly became unbearable. Not only did the apple trees become sick, but the number of pests multiplied astonishingly. Kimura and his family spent their days from morning till night manually capturing pests using their hands and plastic bags. They also tried various methods like spraying vinegar and other liquids. However, these efforts were merely a drop in the bucket. The condition of the apple trees worsened year after year. They endured several years of agony, facing immense pressure and zero income from the orchard. Kimura had to sell off his belongings and find additional work to support his family. He was on the verge of giving up on the impossible task. However, his family continued to encourage him, because abandoning the project would render the previous years of effort in vain. In Kimura's heart, each apple tree represented life. He looked at the apple trees that no longer bore fruit, touched them with his hands, and tearfully apologized for their suffering. It didn't matter if they didn't bear flowers and fruits, but he pleaded for them not to wither away. He begged each and every apple tree. He even tried to communicate with the pests, asking them not to consume too many leaves. However, every time he approached the row of apple trees, near the neighboring orchard or the roadside, he stopped. He didn't want outsiders to see him talking to the apple trees, fearing that it would frighten them. Unexpectedly, a miracle occurred. Although some weaker apple trees withered, the strong ones survived. Strangely enough, all the apple trees in the row near the neighboring orchard and roadside died. However, Kimura's pleas to the apple trees and pests did not change his fate. He ended up deeply in debt, witnessing the suffering of his wife and daughter, which pained him greatly. One day, Kimura took a thick rope and went to the top of Mount Iwaki, preparing to choose a tree to end his own life. Just as he was about to do so, he suddenly saw a fruit tree growing not far away. It instantly piqued his curiosity. He thought, how could a fruit tree grow in such a desolate mountain? No one fertilized it, weeded it, or controlled pests, yet it still bore beautiful fruits. Could it be that I have been doing something wrong? Kimura immediately abandoned his plan of suicide and returned home with questions in his mind. Little did he know that the miraculous tree on Mount Iwaki would not only save him but also become a turning point in his life. As expected, not long after, Kimura finally found a breakthrough in natural public law. It turned out that the key problem lay in the soil. Kimura discovered that modern agriculture is a pathological agriculture. The high yields obtained through this method rely mainly on the excessive use of chemical fertilizers, pesticides, herbicides, and mechanical operations. However, this scientific agricultural approach severely damages the structure of the soil and kills a large number of soil microbes, resulting in a deficiency of trace elements in the soil. Therefore, without relying on pesticides and chemical fertilizers, it becomes difficult for crops to survive. After understanding these principles, Kimura started growing soybeans in his orchard because soybean roots contain abundant rhizobia, which can improve the nitrogen content in the soil. He even stopped removing weeds and practiced non-intervention farming. In the second year, Kimura's orchard resembled a primitive forest, overgrown with weeds, with insects chirping among the grass. But Kimura wasn't worried, because frogs were catching insects, and behind the frogs were snakes, and there were also rabbits and mice in his orchard. A natural food chain had formed, and Kimura's apple trees were gradually regaining their health. Kimura realized one thing: in his many years of effort, he had been focusing on the surface, trying to catch bugs and such. But all living beings are born on this land and return to this land after death. He had overlooked the most important factor, which is the soil. He realized that respecting the laws of nature is the right approach. Although they planted the apples, it was nature that allowed them to grow, and all humans can do is assist nature in its work to receive corresponding rewards. In the spring of the 8th year, without using pesticides, Kimura's orchard finally bloomed with 7 apple blossoms, and 2 of them bore fruit. These 2 apples were Kimura's entire year's harvest. Kimura respectfully placed the apples in the Buddhist temple before sharing them with his family, and the sweet taste of these 2 apples instantly swept away the years of bitterness for Kimura. In a certain day of the 9th year, a neighboring farmer suddenly knocked on Kimura's door, saying that Kimura's orchard was in full bloom. Kimura and his wife hurried to the orchard, looking at the apple blossoms covering the mountains. And they couldn't find words to express their feelings. Including the 2 trial years, Kimura endured 11 years of hardship before finally seeing income. Moreover, the apples he grew wouldn't rot. At most, they would dry slightly, but they still emitted a fragrance. On the other hand, apples grown with chemical fertilizers and pesticides would rot within a month. Some people believe that this is because Kimura's cultivation returned to nature, and the more disconnected things are from nature, the worse they become and are eventually eliminated by nature. In reality, many people have also tried natural farming methods, but they all gave up after 4 to 5 years. Kimura said that only he continued the trials like a fool. And when he saw the entire orchard full of apple blossoms, he deeply understood that the apple trees were the main characters. He didn't believe that his success was solely due to his own efforts, because the apple trees themselves also worked hard, and he was only assisting them. After experiencing failure time and time again, it took Kimura a long time to understand this lesson. These stories of Kimura's determination are quite inspiring, and most people know about them. But what many people don't know is that, on the night when Kimura attempted suicide on the Mount Iwaki, he saw the figure of a child in the neighboring orchard. But when he took a closer look, he realized that it wasn't a child at all. That person had a huge head, large eyes, but it was unclear if they had a nose and mouth, and they were wearing a silver coat. Kimura was instantly shocked. Wasn't that an alien? It's just that, due to their small stature, he mistakenly thought it was a child for a moment. After the two made eye contact, the alien swiftly circled his orchard at an unbelievable speed and disappeared. Could it be that they were secretly observing everything Kimura had been doing and planning something? In fact, Kimura had been quite special since he was young. Apart from experiencing several near-death experiences, he had even glimpsed into the spirit world, and he saw many souls queuing up to be reborn. This experience had always been hidden in his heart, and he hadn't told anyone about it. However, one day, a mysterious woman approached Kimura, and she knew about his experiences. She told Kimura that he had fewer reincarnations on Earth compared to others, because his soul did not originate from Earth. But who exactly is this mysterious woman? Kimura still doesn't know until now. And even he saw a dragon flash by when he was a child. And also, he and his classmates have seen UFOs. Aomori Prefecture itself is a very mysterious place, with many UFO sightings happening here. But this was the first time Kimura saw an alien in his orchard. But what he never expected was, just when Kimura finally understood the laws of nature and successfully grew apple trees, his life was once again disrupted by outsiders, as if they had been waiting for this moment for a long time. One night when Kimura was 40 years old, he woke up from his sleep, and he noticed that the window in his room was open. Suddenly, two small figures entered through the window. They then took hold of him and flew out of the window, and a huge spaceship was hovering in the sky. In an instant, he was taken inside the spaceship. Inside the spaceship, Kimura only felt that the cabin was very bright, but he couldn't see any glowing devices. He also realized that he wasn't the only Earthling in the cabin. There was a young Caucasian woman and another muscular Caucasian man who seemed like a soldier. The three of them sat together in a row. Then the two individuals were taken to a platform, and their clothes were removed. The aliens began observing them. However, Kimura was not stripped of his clothes. Instead, he was taken to a room that seemed like a control room. Strangely, throughout the process, Kimura didn't feel afraid. At this point, the aliens began speaking to Kimura through telepathy. One of them showed Kimura a triangular piece of black metal, approximately 1 centimeter thick and with a side length of 20 centimeters. The alien said that it was a backup power device for their spaceship, although they rarely needed to use it. Using one hand, the alien handed the metal piece to Kimura. When Kimura touched it with both hands, he felt that the metal was particularly heavy. He asked what kind of metal it was made of. The alien said it was a metal called K. Kimura thought to himself, K? Could it be the chemical element potassium? Instantly, the alien knew what he was thinking and explained that this K was not potassium. On Earth, humans have only discovered around 120 elements, but they fully utilize the 256 elements they have discovered. Continuing on, Kimura was taken to another room, where he saw an elder who resembled Socrates. The elder was busy arranging a bunch of plates, and he told Kimura that humans were destroying the Earth. These plates represented a calendar, which indicated the remaining lifespan of the Earth. Each plate equaled 1 year of time. After hearing this, Kimura also wanted to know how much life was left for Earth. But the elder didn't tell him, only responding that there wouldn't be much left. Then, after an unknown period of time, Kimura found himself back in his own home. His memories began to blur, but everything that had just happened felt so real. Could it be that he had suffered a mental breakdown after years of stress? Although he told his wife about everything, there was simply no evidence to prove this experience. This matter, in the end, had to be concluded. However, 5 years later, one evening, Kimura was watching television. Coincidentally, the TV was airing a program about foreigners, and a French woman appeared on the show. During the interview, she recounted her experience of being abducted by aliens. The woman mentioned being taken to a spaceship, where she saw a Caucasian man who resembled a naval officer, as well as an Asian man with glasses and imperfect teeth. As Kimura looked at this woman, he felt a sense of familiarity. And suddenly, he realized, hey, wasn't this the Caucasian woman from the spaceship 5 years ago? And the Asian man she mentioned was him, Kimura. At that moment, he finally believed that the alien abduction event from 5 years ago wasn't an illusion or a dream, but something that truly happened. If it wasn't a dream, then Kimura encountered the elder on the spaceship, and those plates representing Earth's lifespan were likely real as well. But what were the aliens' intentions? From the first encounter after his suicide attempt, to the second encounter after his successful cultivation, and the fact that Kimura was given this information, were they trying to warn him about something? And did they want him to inform the world? So why did the aliens specifically choose him? Various questions remain unanswered to this day. Let's speculate for a moment. Aliens are known for their advanced technology. And in an era where everyone was enthusiastic about technological cultivation, Kimura went against the tide and worked hard like a fool. Perhaps this approach attracted the attention of the aliens, and they became curious to see if Kimura could succeed. And after Kimura successfully cultivated the miraculous apples, the aliens had a second encounter with him, even kidnapping him. However, they didn't choose to study his body. Instead, it seemed like they wanted to prove that their technology was superior, but they couldn't deny Kimura's intelligence and ability. Perhaps only those who have experienced hardships truly understand the concept of being wise while appearing foolish. What do you all think? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. Until next time.